Welcome to the Bookkeeping for Farmers using QuickBooks video series. This video was developed by the Center for Land-Based Learning with funding and support from California FarmLink and USDA Risk Management Agency. In this video, we will talk about how to enter deposits in QuickBooks. This is part 2 of a two-part video. Now let's talk about deposits of payments received against sales receipts. There is another way in which you might receive payments and make deposits. That is by issuing sales receipts. A sales receipt is very similar to an invoice, but it's issued only if you receive payment at the time of sale. If you have to wait for the payment, then you need to issue an invoice rather than a sales receipt. To get to the sales receipt window, on the menu bar, select Customers, enter Sales Receipt, or on the toolbar, click Sales Receipt. Once you're in the Sales Receipt window, select the customer to whom you're issuing the receipt. Enter the date of the sale. Enter a receipt number or let QuickBooks assign one. Enter sales items and quantities, just like in an invoice. Select where to deposit the payment. Print or email the receipt and give it to your client. Okay, you have a couple of ways to get to the Sales Receipts window. On the menu bar, select Customers, enter Sales Receipt. Or on the toolbar, click on the Sales Receipts icon, which is the icon with the coins and the receipt. Once you are in the Sales Receipts window, enter information very much like in an invoice. Here, let's say that we have sold a box of carrots to Joe Smith at your farm stand and they want a receipt. Enter Joe Smith, quick add, skip class, enter the date, enter a receipt number or let QuickBooks assign one. If they gave you a check, you would enter it here. But Mr. Smith paid you with a debit card, which you processed using Square, so enter debit card in the pay method. Enter the items you have sold to your customer. Enter farm stand farm products. Enter carrot case. Enter quantity 1, rate 40. Enter a customer message if you want. If they had given you a check, you would hold the check in undeposited funds and then make a bank deposit later with the other checks and cash you have collected over the course of the day or a few days. But Joe paid with her debit card using Square, so the money will go directly into your checking account. Click Save. Now let's close out of this window and open Business Checking. And here is the $40 deposit. Finally, let's talk about general deposits. There are many ways to enter a general deposit. On the menu bar, go to Banking, Make Deposit. On the toolbar, click Deposit. From the check register, place the cursor on a previous deposit and click Command N. In the check register, place the cursor into a new empty line, click Splits, and enter the deposit directly in there. Once you're in the deposit window, select the bank account you want to deposit into, enter the date of the deposit, enter whom you received the payment from, enter the income or expense account that this deposit will go into, enter a memo if you like, enter a check number if applicable, select the payment method, save the deposit. To enter a deposit, you need to get to the deposit window. You can reach the deposit window by going to the menu bar and selecting Banking, Make Deposit, by clicking on Deposits on the toolbar, you can go to the check register click the cursor on a previous deposit and press Command-N. Lastly, you can place the cursor in a new line on the register, click Splits, and enter the deposit directly into the register. But I don't recommend this system because the interface is much better from the deposit window. Alright, now let's enter a general deposit. Remember that a general deposit is a deposit that is not received against an invoice or a sales receipt. General deposits are, for example, refunds and capital contributions. Remember in the last video we bought chicken feed from Tractor Supply and charged it on the debit card? Okay, let's pretend that the feed was moldy and you have returned it. Tractor Supply has issued you a refund on the debit card, which is nothing but a deposit into your checking account. Click the deposit icon, the safe, on the toolbar. Make sure you are in the correct account. Tab to the date of the refund. Tab to Received From Tractor Supply. Tab to From Account. In this case, it's a negative expense, a deposit into the expense account feed. Tab to the memo, Refund on Moldy Feed. Skip the check number, since in this case it was not done via check. Select a payment method, in this case debit card, but it's not that important. Skip class for now, we will talk more about class in later videos. Enter the amount, 67, and click Save or hit Enter. You can see that we now have a deposit in the check register for $67. Okay, now let's look at another deposit in your check register. Did you notice that in the checking account we have a beginning balance of $2,000? That was your initial contribution to your business, your seed money, if you'll excuse the pun. Let's double-click on this to take a look. It took us to the same window as we used before. You can see that this is a capital contribution. It was your initial deposit into your business checking account to get your farm started. If you need to make additional deposits into your business checking from your personal account, you will do it just like this. I made a little overview to explain the differences between the various payments and deposits we have been talking about. With invoices, first the invoice lives in accounts receivables until you receive the payment against it. Then, if they pay with a check or cash, you might let that check sit on your desk for a week until you can make it to the bank. So that check lives in undeposited funds for that period of time. Finally, you deposit that check into the bank. If they pay you with a credit card or a wire transfer, the money would go straight from accounts receivables to the bank, skipping undeposited funds. With sales receipts, the customer hands you the payment but wants a receipt to acknowledge their payment. Notice that with sales receipts, you skip accounts receivables because you're not waiting for the payment. You have already received it. If their payment is with a check or cash, you might let that sit on your desk for a while until you can make it to the bank. So that payment may live in undeposited funds before it gets deposited into the bank. You would skip undeposited funds if you're getting paid through PayPal, for example, in which case the deposit will go directly into your bank. A general deposit goes directly into the bank. It does not go through accounts receivables or undeposited funds. A general deposit is a deposit for which you issue no invoice or no sales receipt. Since all the products you sell should be accounted for with a sales receipt or an invoice to track the quantities and items sold, then the only things that qualify as general deposits are refunds to expense accounts or capital contributions. In the next video, we will talk about the Customer Center and other handy QuickBooks windows.